We're excited to expand our minds, to be challenged. Health and wellness. Who's healthy in here? Who likes health? Who doesn't like health? You like health? You guys like health up here? Like that hat though, man. Let's go. Bulls for life. So before I introduce our fearless leaders and health aficionados, I do want to thank you guys for coming. This is such a special event, and I think very, very important. And everyone here, I think, there's a reason you're here. So as we are sitting through and listening, I hope that we are all having open hearts and open minds and really asking ourselves questions and looking at our own life and how we live it, and being honest and say, you know, is there more I can do with health? Is there more I can do in my immediate environment to be a proponent of wellness and environmental health? You know, I think there's a lot here for us today. So, without further ado, let me introduce Mr. Randall Blackman and Dr. Casey Blackman.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. So before we start the actual presentation, I'm just going to give you guys an idea of what Veggie Bite is. You might see the t-shirts, you might see it, and nobody really knows what it is. But what we do is, well, before that, it started when I've been vegan for 30 years and Casey for 8, and people would always ask me, like, how do you do it? Like, what do you eat? How do you live this lifestyle? And so we decided to create a resource for these family members, friends, so that they can have that opportunity to change their life however they want to change it. So before, just to preface this, we're not trying to say vegan is the right way to eat or vegetarian, but you might get an understanding of why I eat that way or why somebody might eat that way currently in this society. So, and I'm Randall, so if you guys don't know, I'm Randall. And yeah, that's pretty much.
And I'm Casey, and I got a little bit more interested, not just by dating him and then marrying him and him kind of forcing me to be a vegan. No, I'm just playing. But just learning more about it, and my doctorate is in nutrition, foods, and exercise, and so I used to be just really big on my physical health and exercise, and my metabolism was much faster, so I could eat junk and I was fine. And then I got older and stuff happens, and I learned I should be eating more healthier foods, plant-based foods. So that's how I got more interested in nutrition and not just eating, but also cooking in this way too. And we were going to introduce our daughter, but she's currently sleeping right now. That's Arima that you saw in the little dress, and you can see that I'm expecting again. So, and now we're going to show a little bit about the layout of our website, and Randall will explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, so if you just go to veggiebitykitchen.com, you'll find recipes for all kind of vegan or plant-based transition. So it's just a resource again, events, lifestyle. If you need consulting, we do help people go to the grocery store and go through it to see what items that they can use to transition, which it can be very difficult at times to know what exactly is out there. So we do help you do that also. And that, our Instagram, you can follow our Instagram. We do post a lot of recipes on there, so no more sales. So without further ado, I am Earth. All right, before we start, if you guys have your cell phones with you, if you could go to slido.com, SLIDO, and there's an event code, I am Earth, all caps, and there should be a poll up there. When you hear or see I am Earth, what does that mean to you? Anybody else?
Organic and green.
Organic and green?
We help each other. Responsibility.
Responsibility, very good, very good.
You are what you eat.
You are what you eat. Very good. Oh, okay, there we go.
It's working now.
It's working. The other one? Yes, okay. So it means that we are part of the earth, everything there. Every human being that has lived, that is currently living, and will live, at least for now, unless we get to Mars, will be born on this planet Earth. So what does that mean? What does that mean to you? Everybody that's going to be born, or is living, or has been born, has been here before. This planet is our home. It's our shared resource, our common ground. And literally, if I go to anybody, we have a common ground because we live on this planet Earth. So we all share that connection. So someone said, we are all tied to it and have a relationship with Earth, whether we choose to accept it or not. So a lot of us don't understand that connection. And it's your choice. It is a choice to understand that you do have that connection. But you are tied to the Earth, whether you like it or not, at this point in time. So everything is everything. So there is nothing that you see that is not made from the Earth. Your cell phone, your TV, your house, your car, everything that you see has to come from somewhere. And that somewhere is Earth. So anything that's grown, anything that is made, combined artificial substances, all these things are really, when it comes down to it, a piece of Earth. So you can see the examples over here. We have soil, coal, even the animals, they are part of the Earth also. They rely on the Earth, so there's an ecosystem going on. We have an ecosystem of everything working together. So when they say that everything is alive, technically this chair is alive because it's made of Earth, technically. It is vibrating with the energy that Earth has, and it is alive because it's made of Earth. So if the Earth is alive, then everything is everything. So our choices or lack of understanding or consideration will have an effect on the Earth and in turn us. So everybody's choices will have an effect because everything is everything, everything is connected. And that was by someone else. So we live in America, and we're not gonna generalize all of Americans, but most Americans we live in LA, so it's a big city, and we have access to everything. We have access to clean water, we have electricity when we want it, we have food at our fingertips around every corner. There's a car shop, you can go get a car, you can lease a car as many times as you want, you can return it. In America you can do whatever you want, and we are the #1 country in the world. So we are the leaders. We are the leaders in luxury and lifestyle. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So being leaders, we know that comes with responsibility. And we will talk about that. So our responsibility, our choices impact all of us. So this is from the Sustainability Consumption Sierra Club publication, but a child born in the United States will create 13 times as much ecological damage than someone born in Brazil. So what does that mean? Because we're leaders, we use more, we consume more. And how we are brought into this culture of consumption, we will use as much. And Brazil is a developing nation, but let's say these developing nations follow the leader. You can imagine how the consumption becomes tenfold, 30 times, 100 times. So as leaders, we are setting the pace, and we are creating damage to the earth in America at this point in time. And the average American will drain as many resources as 35 natives of India, and will consume 53 times more goods and services than someone from China. So as China, their economy is building up also, so they're going to want to have everything that we have. We are the standard. So you can imagine where we're heading at this point in time. So why should I care about this? Not to say gloom and doom. We have a choice, we have an opportunity to correct some of the damages or correct the way we look at our lifestyles. We have that opportunity, definitely. It's within everyone's control here. But I was lucky enough to be at a presentation at UCLA by a Dr. Michael Irwin, and he is at the Mindful Awareness Research Center at UCLA. And what he talked about was how the environment affects our central nervous system directly. So when you deal with pollution, or when you deal with stressors, such as, let's say, not enough healthy food, poor environment, that will affect your central nervous system, and in turn, create inflammation and then disease.
Yeah.
So this is very important, because if your environment can cause disease, but at the same time you are creating the environment, then what are you are actually creating diseases to yourself.
Yeah.
And so it's very important to be aware of your environment, that you stop that cycle of disease and how it affects your central nervous system. So what can we do? Any quick answers? Anybody? What can we do?
Change our environment.
Change our environment?
Recycle.
Yes, so you've seen this
More
very
around
often.
what's
But this is
around
just a joke. You can do this, but this is just a joke. You hear this every time. Reduce, reuse, recycle for a happy Earth, which is very good. But you only hear it during Earth Day, or it's not very prevalent. But I want to get to what they're actually asking you to do when they're saying reduce, reuse, recycle. What are they really asking you to do? You ready? So we can practice mindfulness. When someone's asking you to reduce, reuse, recycle, they're not asking you to, just do those things. They're really asking you to be mindful about how you interact with everything, because everything is everything, right? So what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is a state characterized by attention to the present moment. So being present. When I give someone a hug, when I give my wife a hug, if I'm
Give her a
not-
kiss too. Give her a kiss too.
Actually, you're hugging your wife and baby. You're doing it
when I
all.
give my wife a baby hug, if I'm not present in this moment, she's gonna go, "That's not a good hug. You're not here.
You're right.
You're not mindful about this hug." But when I'm really like, okay, I'm hugging my wife right now. I'm gonna give you a good hug. I'm very mindful, and I'm actually in the moment. And I'm present, and I can give that hug the best hug that I can give it. Because when you, let's say, eat, for example, and we'll get more into it, or when you turn on the lights and you leave them on, are you present when you are doing what you are doing? When you're driving, are you present in your day-to-day? Or are we somewhere else? Are we in the future? Are we in the past? Are we at work? Are we in our troubles? Are we in, all those things that affect us? Where are we at any given moment? And the present is the only way to live, because that is what you have. So let's do a exercise, and Casey is going to do this.
Okay, so you should have received a small food item in your hand. Hope you didn't already put it in your mouth, but it's okay if you're hungry. And so if you want to stand up, you can. If you want to stay seated, it doesn't matter. But what we're going to do is we're going to practice mindfulness exercise with mindful eating. And so what I want you to think about as you're doing this is that do you guys know how long it takes for your brain to actually register that you are satiated?
10 to 15 minutes?
Yes, 10 to 15 minutes. So, no shame, just curious. You might be at your desk eating real quick. Maybe you consume it in less than 5 minutes, right? Depending on how often you have to chew. If it's soup or if it's a hot food, you just, okay, I'm done, on to the next thing, right? So your brain hasn't really registered. And so a lot of times we'll do habitual eating where instead of being mindful and actually sitting down and not working on something on our electronic devices, whether it's on your cell phone, whatever, you're just concentrating on eating. So then our brain can't really register what's going on. And so we keep eating or we keep snacking and that type of stuff. So snacking is not bad. It's just, we need to do those things in moderation. So wanted to get you all thinking about that as you're going through this exercise. So it's gonna be a little bit slower than what you're used to with eating, but just open your mind to this. So we're gonna explore the piece of food that you have with all 5 senses, okay? Even listening to the food, all right? I know it sounds a little crazy, but, so you have it in your hand. Let's bring it to our ear, and let's think about maybe the rain that came down onto the soil that this grew in. Or let's think about the truck that it was transported on and the sound of the truck, okay? So we're gonna think about the many hands and the production to actually get to the process of where it is today. Now, let's think about, let's look at it. Is it hard? Is it soft? Look at the texture. Is it dull? Is it shiny, the finish? Think about maybe the farm workers that planted it. Think about how they tended to the soil. Think about how whoever picked it out of the ground once it was something to harvest, and how they put it on a truck and maybe manufactured it in a plant, or maybe it was grown in someone's garden. So thinking through that. Now let's smell it. Can you smell the soil that maybe it grew in? Maybe it's a little bit earthy, or maybe the smell that it has now is a distinct smell. And that's another good way before you actually start eating your food is to smell it, because it helps to heighten your senses as to whatever you're about to eat. And so now let's put it up to our lips and put it on your tongue, but do not swallow it, don't start chewing, just put it on your tongue. Let it just simmer on your taste buds, all right? And then now so your salivary glands are starting to activate now, and so you're gonna swish it around a little bit in your mouth, and now you can start to chew, but don't swallow yet, just chew a couple times. Still thinking about the food and how it got here and the process that it went through. And then whenever you're ready, you can swallow it. Yes.
I'm still hungry.
Well, you can visit the vendors during the break time. It was just a little tease, a taste. But so just having this, so I guess so I'll bring it to you guys. What do you think this is one way that this could help you with bringing mindfulness into one area of your life, such as eating, in a broader sense, not just with this piece of food? Yes.
I think by considering like the whole process of, considering the whole process of how it gets to you, I think you can appreciate it more and maybe like be mindful about the whole experience.
That's good, that's good.
Did you want to add something?
Yeah, appreciation, and
Okay.
just appreciation and being thankful for it. That there's
Excellent.
so many different hands, and even, God that went into the food that you're, taking. So.
Excellent. Okay, so thank you for being open to that exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And, feel free to practice it with whoever, your friends, your children, family, and see what they think about it. And you guys were much more open than when I do it with teenagers. It's really funny, the comments that they give, so thank you for...
All right, so we're going to continue on. All right. So mindful eating. So we just did a demonstration on mindfulness. And so this example is more for myself. I'm not telling anybody that they need to change their diet, but why might somebody eat vegan? So if you think about meat, and for me as I think about it, how it affects the environment, If you go one day without eating meat, it saves 1,089 gallons of water, 30 square feet of forest. And the water is because you have to water grain to feed the cattle, you have to give water to the cattle, and the forest is because the animals need a place to either eat grass or roam. The grain goes again to, and so what happens when you don't appreciate the food, you become out of balance. And that connection again, that mindfulness, because we don't appreciate it, that mindfulness has gone away, and we in turn start to affect the earth and then ourselves. But again, you have a choice to undo some of that unbalance. So if more people cut out eating meat, at least meat once a day, think about how much of the environment we would save. I mean, that's the whole day not eating meat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you can imagine how much we would transform the earth or save it. Another thing that we can do about mindful eating is go into places that grow their food locally, or they bring in food from local areas. The reason for that is if you're getting, let's say, avocados from another country, the amount of pollution it takes to get those avocados from, let's say, South America to the United States will have an effect on the environment. If our avocados aren't in season, I don't need to have avocados. I need to be more mindful of what is in season in my environment. And again, it's not about not having what you like, but just being mindful about how often and your consumption level. Shopping at the farmer's market is a great option. California has them around every corner, especially since it's warm. So that's another good option where you can get that locally farmed food, and you're helping the environment by going to the farmer's market. And the prices are not that expensive also. So that's something that we can all do. Check that out to cut down also on the pollution from transporting. All right, so why I say mindful shopping, we talked about consumption, but the fashion industry is a top 5 pollutant in the world. So what does that mean to you, us? It used to be 2 seasons maybe of shopping, when it's winter and when it's spring. You get stuff for when it's cold and when it's warm. Now it's gone to 100 seasons where they bring out new clothes every week. Every week I can get something new. Every week a store, and that's what they call fast fashion. Every week a store can bring you new clothing. But at what cost? At what cost again? So we keep getting new clothes. Social media plays a role in it too. You don't want to have the same outfit on in the picture you took last week, right? Nobody wants to do that. So that plays a role also. More people are seeing you, so you want to have more options. So let's take an example, all the clothes that we have now. We're buying lots of clothes, and we can say that affects another part of the world. So the first thing is, even if you get something cheap, let's say I got a great deal on clothing. I can get great deals. I get these cheap clothing. You're not paying for it, but somebody in the world is paying for it. So because I'm getting this clothes for this cheap price, it means that somebody in India or China, they are paying for it by the way that it pollutes their rivers, their environment, and they're going to get sick. And it's not a connection that we easily make, but cheap is not always the best option for buying clothing or anything really. You want to have quality and you want to invest in it, and you want to make sure that's a good product that'll last long. So we'll take another thing that we'll talk about is Haiti, right? Haiti had an earthquake and everybody donated clothes. You can find that 85% of that clothing ended up in a landfill. They have so much clothes there that they don't know what to do with it. They can't wear all the clothes that they have there. No one can wear all the clothes that they have. It's a great humanitarian thing to give clothing, but where is it going to end up? It's going to end up in a landfill that somebody can't use. So what can we do? We can shop less. We can be smart about shopping. We can get investment pieces that are actually high quality or fair trade, pieces that don't affect the environment as bad. And I know it's more expensive, it's kind of counterintuitive. Like, I'm gonna pay more for this, but in the end, you're potentially not creating disease or affecting the earth for someone else, but again, yourself. In the end, you're not doing that. So you can feel better about that, and you can have less of those things because everything is everything. So less of those things. Make your treasure another person's trash, or make your trash another person's treasure. Sorry. So you can take it to a boutique that they sell used clothing. A lot of people do that, and you can repurpose it. I wanted some short sleeve dress shirts, and I thought about cutting off my regular dress shirts and getting them sewn if I don't wear them as much. But that's just ideas that you can do that are not as expensive. And I'm going to be honest, for me, my issue with consumption, I like shoes. You know, I like to have the newest shoes. I like to have the cool ones. I have a collection. But then I realized, how many shoes can I wear? I can only wear one shoe at a time. So I only need to have a few. I need to start whittling down that. I need to start getting rid of those extra shoes and give it to people that actually want to wear these shoes.
Really good.
So we talked about mindful eating, mindful shopping. Now we're going to talk about mindful being. And we're all human beings, right? Once you have the understanding that we're all connected, every action, in terms of consumption, because we know everything is everything, everything that you see is a part of the earth, you can begin to say what I do affects people, not just in my local area, but in other parts of the world. And you have a choice. You have a choice to be mindful or not. It's not something you have to do, but you have a choice to do it. But I think we all want to leave the world better than how we came into it, right? So the idea, I want to challenge everyone in here, even myself, but you don't want to stress yourself. You don't want to challenge yourself to the point of fatigue and, oh my gosh, I'm so worried if I do this is going to happen to somebody else. And that's not the idea. You don't want to stress yourself, because then you're not going to be, there's no well-being in that. So you have to find that balance of what can I do little by little to affect change. And we want to give back to the earth instead of taking more of everything. We want to picture this road. This road is you being born into where you are now, born into America. And with that comes this force behind me, this force of what has already been set up, what has already been made for me. And as you walk through your life, you're pushed down this road, consciously or unconsciously. I'm pushed down this road. You begin to understand, okay, I want to get off this road, but it seems like it's very difficult to get off this road. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that change, because it's the pressure behind me is so overwhelming. Everywhere I go, I'm reminded of all the things that they want me to do. They want me to consume. They want me to do these things. So this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. This is a life-changing decision. But what I'll say is, so if I walk down this road and I continue walking, I know where I'm going to end up. If I want to make a change, if I change just a little, if I walk down here and I continue going straight, I'm going to go that way, right to cultivate yoga. But if I change just 1 degree, a small degree, by the time I end up, I'll be at hint water. And I just made a small change at the beginning. I didn't make a huge change. So you can see that you don't have to do anything that big. It's just a small thing. If I turn off the lights that I leave on all the time one day,
Good.
and I do it the next day, I'm starting to affect change. I'm starting to change the way that I behave. I'm starting to change the planet. If everybody does that 1 degree, you add up all those degrees, that's 360 eventually. 360 change. So, and the other thing is, when you look back after you've made that 1 degree change, you'll see how far you came. you'll see all the stuff you've done. So don't look forward all the time, just stay in the present, make that change in the present, and by the time you get to your final destination, you'll realize it was much different than you could have imagined. And then look back and think about all the great things that you did. And just remember that everything is everything, and I am Earth. Thank you. Any questions?
What locally sourced restaurants do you recommend in LA, here in Valley?
I've been to Cava. They actually get a lot of their food from locally sourced areas. Follow Your Heart is another one. That's a vegan place, but it is still good if you want to check it out.
Locally sourced restaurant,
Right.
locally sourced.
Yeah, we can send you some
Okay,
that we can
that'd be
find.
great,
Yeah.
thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, growing up, my mom was like crazy environmentalist, and like we were recycling when I was a kid. We had to
60s,
drive
back
in the 60s and 70s. We had to drive all the stuff. There was no recycling bins. You know, how can we? I know that there's different cities now where they actually pick through the trash and they have like metal things and like up in the Bay Area, but I don't know if that's available here. So in LA, what are some ways that, you know, LA residents can really cut down on a lot of what's going to end up going in the landfill? I mean, I know you mentioned clothes, but I mean, there's so many other things too.
Yeah. So we have some slides at the end that has all the LA organizations available, so that you guys can find out what you can do to be more mindful, or to recycle better, or to get rid of waste.
One in particular is the Los Angeles Sustainability Collaborative. They're located in Hidden Hills. And then there's also the Los Angeles Sustainability Collaboration. And so they have a lot of information on research, policy, how you as an individual or family can get involved with different areas of mindfulness, or different areas of the environment, whether you're interested in reducing air pollution, soil pollution, water pollution, whatever you're interested in.
It's good source.
Yeah, they have a lot
That's
of
cool.
different things on their
Awesome.
website.
Okay.